Hey, this is Notser, and we're going to be following up the intriguing adjustment video that I created a couple days ago. This was talking about 7.2 possibly changing the way shells and armor interact. In my example, I was suggesting that, maybe German battleships, British battleships were getting citadeled at a higher rate than they did previously, and I linked some data that was found out by the community that 7.2 did change shells and armors. They optimized it, whatever that means, right? The game in the background is the Musashi. Hopefully you enjoy it. Sorry there's no audio. It's sort of bugged out. But you're going to hear my lovely voice talk about the intriguing adjustments and Wargaming's follow-up. Sub-Octavian grabbed some different builds of the game, did some testing, and this is what he replied with. So it's not under NDA, and he wants it to be shared. So I'm going to do that, and I quoted it directly. The only thing I left off is the Russian translation. Apologies if anyone wants to see that. But here is the English, obviously. Sub writes, "Hey, an update on underwater/AP ballistics/penetration. We did not intend any changes of AP/underwater penetration. The settings that normally affect this have not changed. We also conducted extensive test shootings in current 0.7.2 and 0.6.10 builds and found no changes. We checked Hindenburg and Conqueror. However, we see players' reports, and we also notice some changes in combat statistics after 0.7.2, the number of citadels. We continue the investigation and now are looking at ballistics code and neighbor game components that theoretically may affect this. Cheers." So my interpretation of all this is some unintended consequence occurred when they optimized the relationship between these weird outliers, like the random HE shell detonation inside of a battleship or something like that. And when they made an adjustment to one of these systems, it actually overlapped with the design of how AP interacts with penetrating the armor of a target. That's my best guess, and it would align appropriately with game development. I've played a lot of games over the years that have had long legs. Before the free-to-play market, we had like a game like Battlefield 1942, Counter-Strike, all those mods for the Half-Life engine. Years and years and years of existence. There's absolutely stuff that can fall through the crack, and having one or two things changed, it could impact that relationship. And I think that's exactly what occurred. But I must say, this is a big deal to Wargaming. They don't usually allow the community contributors to share the NDA conversations that we have, because you can see he says not NDA. So that means that everything that is ever discussed on that particular channel is under NDA. And the only reason this is not is because he expressly states it. So it's a really, really, really big deal to them. And hopefully they have multiple people looking at this. I don't know how fast it will be fixed, if it will be able to be fixed, if that's something that's important to them. But from my interpretation, I think they want to fix it just because it wasn't an intended change. Maybe they like it, and then down the road they will implement it, but they usually like to do some testing before something is altered to that extent, and I expect them to revert whatever adjustment was touched or fix it, and maybe down the road express interest in bringing that back in a more optimized and official manner. So that's the statement that they've given me, and every single community contributor, quite literally every single community contributor, got that exact same statement. And it was at my local time, 9:52. That's about, end of day for Russia. So that tells you they probably spent all Monday, probably a couple other days, working on it, trying to get anything that they could nail down. They got enough stats that they could verify that, yeah, you're seeing the same thing we're seeing. We're seeing Citadel increase, and we don't know why. So I thought it was important to share. Hopefully it answers any questions that you might have. Please don't prescribe to the, this company is evil, and all they want to do is screw me out of my money. They have really great employees. I've met a lot of them. They're really friendly. They're just like any other business. They want to be able to make more money than they spend, and by making money, they can build more ships, more tanks, more aircraft, more maps, do more things for the community to increase that revenue further. There's, I know them personally, and I don't think some players are fair. Most of the player base, completely reasonable, never say a single thing. They play their game, they enjoy it. If they have money, they spend money. But it's always that 1% that has something to say, and I just feel bad for them because I get a little bit of it, like you're a shill or whatever, but I try to be very critical of what Wargaming does, the Graf Zeppelin. Even this, I wanted to highlight this. I don't want you to go into a scenario where you're at a disadvantage. Same with that stopwatch. I'm sure a lot of you don't even remember the stopwatch, but back in the day, there was a little stopwatch, and in fact, you can see on my screen right now, there's a stopwatch next to the time to target. Well, they unfortunately left some code in the game related to automatic aiming, and I know this might blow your mind, but initially, the game had an indicator that told you exactly where to aim, and it would change. There have been mods that are hacks that have taken this and built on it, and that sort of thing. But initially, they didn't expect that players would have the skill required to aim at a ship. So they were just going to put a little indicator where to aim at the ship, and that was going to be it. They took it out after, I think, alpha testers were like, we don't need this at all. This is really unnecessary. But they left in a little tiny bit of code that basically made the stopwatch flicker when you were targeting directly on that crosshair that they had taken out visually, but it was still hooked in somehow. So over the course of maybe a year and a half, some people were like, hey, do you know about the stopwatch? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then someone explained to me, yeah, if you bounce the crosshair on the target, the stopwatch is going to blink. That means you're on target. And you could probably look up, it's an Amagi video on my channel. You can watch that. When I made that, oh boy, I had Wargaming directly contact me and like, excuse me, what you just shared, we will look at and we'll fix it, and then they of course fix it. And usually they're like, don't let this known about what, but they were cool about it. They didn't really have a problem with it. I'm sure they didn't like that I shared it so publicly, but I just wanted everyone to benefit from the knowledge of this so they could be empowered and not deal with players that seem to be always super accurate. That's my goal as a channel, is to review and confirm. If I feel like Wargaming is doing the right thing, I'll tell them. If I feel like they're doing the wrong thing, I'll tell them as well. I think that's what you appreciate, and I can't see it any other way. So I'm not afraid to talk to them because a lot of them are very friendly. I know some employees directly. They've told me about, their family, vacation, their friends, stuff they like. So we have a good relationship with those people. But, whenever I do something crazy, like the Graf Zeppelin, don't buy, I get like, in a friendly sort of way, the employees that I do know, they're like, you just had to go and do that, did you? Yep. I don't think it's fair to the player base to have to buy something that just isn't ready. So I think this is just a case of a lot of code, and some code had a relationship that they just did not foresee. Clearly that relationship has been altered. I would expect them maybe to revert some of the changes and maybe break it out a little bit. I will, of course, keep you informed. If something changes or I get a new reply, it'll probably make it into another video. I'm not going to hide anything, and I don't think that's appropriate. So I really appreciate all the support, interest in my content. I really love reading the replies, even if I don't get to them, watching the replays. You all make this worth it. I love making content, and I love that you enjoy it, and I appreciate the support. So I do have my last game in the Chungmu. I have the tier 10. This happened a week or two ago, but I figured I'll give you a break from all the Chungmu games, get some French battleships, but I do want to share it because it was an ace game. I will try and get the tier 10 on channel at some point. I'm enjoying my time in the tier 9 Alsace. It is really fun, of course. So yeah, that's the only ship other than the tier 10 aircraft carriers that I need, and I was waiting for the bugs to be addressed. Fim, North American CV player, she's great at the aircraft carrier. She's my go-to. I get to talk to her all the time. She's really friendly. I can't wait to hang out with her and the other community contributors that are going to St. Petersburg. That'll be fun. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I am excited about World of Tanks 1.0 just because it looks amazing. I love military hardware. I wanted to love tanks. I just hated the gold ammo. I felt like that was ruining the game, and even in ranked play, it's like 80 or 90% spammed. So I might play a little bit of it, but I definitely wouldn't play ranked or anything like that requires the gold ammo spam. I think that's just really unfortunate design, and I hope they get rid of it as soon as possible. And it sounds like they want to. If they got rid of gold, if they got rid of the commander structure and made it more like World of Warships, I would play the crap out of it along with World of Warships. I love military history, and I love great, sexy games visually, and those two look great. I mean, I just love it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.